Hello, hello, just setting up, ready for a little bit of a drawing session with you today. Slightly last minute, I'm not very well prepared. Let's just make sure that all the techie stuff is working. Can't see myself, hold on, let's have a look. Let's try again. Oh, there we go, amazing. I think we're working. Or perhaps not. Let's have a double check. Okay, yeah, I can see it. Woohoo, we're working. Amazing. So I'm just giving people a chance to come along. I'm going to work in dry media today because, as you can tell by the state of my fingers, I have been painting all day. So I figured it was time to just ease off the wet media for a while and have a little play with some charcoal. And I've got some, I'll just show you. These are, they're actually conte crayons. They're like it's like a soft pastel, a chalk pastel, but slightly harder. They've got a little bit more binder in them. It's quite a restricted colour palette. I can't remember where I got them from. I might have bought them off another artist at some point. But it's actually really nice to just kind of kick back and work in a soft palette sometimes. So let's just dive in and get started. I'm going to, let's have these just a little bit closer. You can't really see them, but I'm going to go for like a mid-tone. So rather than starting off dark, I think we'll go in with, if I go in with a kind of a soft sage green, that's kind of like a mid-tone. I don't want to go too light because you won't see it on camera. So that's the only, really the only plan that I've got right now. And we're just going to dive in. The page is not primed. There's no gesso on the page. I'm just going to dive in and kind of see who emerges, which is a really lovely way to finish the day. It's been quite an intense day working on some other projects. So this is a really gentle way to just round off my day working in my art journal. For me, it's local time is just after 6 o'clock in the evening. So it's a beautiful, light, sunny evening. As I say, it's been, I do a lot of work on a Sunday when everyone else is out and about doing other stuff. I kind of like that quiet time, and it tends to be, weirdly, one of my most productive days of the week. So and then it also means that I can sort of justify taking Monday off, or at least in part, which I also quite like, because a lot of people are returning to work and normal routines on a Monday, and I get to go out and be out and about when things are quiet and not too crowded. Take myself off out for a walk or something, in hopes that this lovely spring sunshine that we're seeing continues on into tomorrow. I'm keeping this really loose, laying a little bit of pigment down, and then sort of building up the shapes. These will change. And the beauty of working like this is that the story that kind of comes through, like the way that this starts to come together and take shape, is all going to be visible all the way through. And it's not really until I get quite close to the end that I kind of refine things with a few darker, harder marks anywhere that needs it, and possibly a little bit of white accent. I'm going to try to use the page mostly as my white, but because I like to get my fingers in there and I like to blend and smudge, so we may just need a few little white accents come the end. Let's just get some lips, a suggestion of some lips in here. So I've gone for this sage green as a kind of a mid-tone. It's dark enough for you to be able to see it on camera, but it's not so dark that I can't use darker tones to emphasize the places that I want to make darker as we go along. I love to work with dry media, with charcoals or soft pastels, with portraits, because I enjoy the sort of slightly ghostly effects. You can just start with a few random marks. You sort of just kind of got a little bit of colour onto this page, and then sort of suggested maybe eye sockets there, and then just went from there. So you can really just let it build up as it goes. You can make changes. Obviously you can white things out if it gets too dark. You can add some gesso. Let's just give the edge. I'm not going to do too much about hair for this one. I don't think I'm just going to concentrate on getting a really nicely blended and shaped face down onto this page. As I say, it's been a fairly long day and quite intense, so this is a little bit of a playtime for me. I'm going for warmer tones now, although the green is what I would call a warm green. I'll come in with the golden yellow. I know that I'm going to want darker in the eyes there, but I'll come in with the golden yellow just to give myself some guidelines, and then when I'm happy with how that's looking, I'll darken that in. So it's probably one tone up if you're going from sort of dark to light. And it's probably one tone or hue lighter. Tone is the darkness, the hue is the colour. It's sort of it's a tone up from the green, so still a sort of a mid-tone. And obviously we're not going for reality here, because green skin and yellow eyes are quite unusual, but I'm going by the colours, so the level of the tone. So if I was working in black and white, the green would be a sort of a mid-grey, and then this yellow would be a light grey, if that helps make more sense of that. And just blending it, not blending too much. You don't want to get too much pigment onto the page initially, because there comes a point, just put some of the dust away, there comes a point where the paper is kind of fully loaded with pigment and it's hard to get more down. So you can see there's still you can still see my marks and strokes in there, which I quite like. But as we lay more pigment down, that will soften. As the little pockets in the paper, the textures of the paper pick up more and more pigment, there comes a point when they're kind of saturated, when they're full of pigment. So I'm just using the yellow now to kind of shape in the sides of the face so that it curves away. Got a little bit wide there with that green. I can fix that later. I'm going to stay with that yellow and just add some more onto the upper lip. Let's go around the edges of the nose there as well. Just kind of suggested nostrils. I'm not worrying too much about detailing too much. And then we'll use this to sculpt in a little bit more shape where the bridge of the nose kind of dips into the face. Let's have just a little bit more pigment in there. Let's bring some into that cheek below where the cheekbone would sit. Just feeling the way. You really are kind of sculpting with your colours rather than drawing almost. It's kind of, you're building up the shapes. It does feel quite sculptural when you're working this way with dry media. A little bit more pigment underneath the chin there, because that shapes that out. Some slightly weird angle to allow for the phone to get a really good angle. So you can hear me kind of move around, my voice moves around a little bit as I'm just switching my angle so I can look at it through the screen, because otherwise my view is kind of a little bit lopsided. So I'm just sort of checking I've got shapes happening as I want them. This is lovely, this kind of like a terracotta use that now to blend in. You can see why I didn't want to start with this, because going in now over the lighter pigments, because there's already some pigment in the paper, this is blending much more smoothly. So those lines are just blending in a lot more easily because there's already some pigment in my page. Let's darken the edge of the face there. I'm going to rub that in a little bit more because it's gone a bit too heavy. So the sides of the face kind of disappearing back in. There's a little kind of indentation either side of the eyes is what we're imagining. And let's bring in some of this terracotta into the corners of the eye sockets, because they need to definitely be a little deeper than they are. Just making sure that it's relatively even. Nobody's eyes are actually completely even, but at the same time we do want them to look similar-ish, like a matching pair, hopefully, or at least not so odd that kind of looks weird. So they're fairly even, just checking those lines there. Let's bring in a little bit of that terracotta just in the corners of the eyes there, and obviously with the eyeball that's going to curve outwards, so we're leaving that a little bit lighter there, and then we'll bring in, let's come in a wee bit dark. I might push that back in a minute. I don't know what that is. And let's darken below the eye socket this side as well. It's a little bit at a time as you come in with the darker pigments, because they make a lot more, they're a lot more dramatic. You can add lighter tones over them to push them back if they get too dark, but you don't want to have to do too much tweaking around. So the lower part of the nostrils there as well, I'm going to bring in some of that terracotta, and let's get some shape onto this upper lip. So where that goes in towards the crease, the opening of the mouth, where that kind of the lip goes inwards, that's going to be darker on the lower edge, and then the upper edge will be lighter. Let's kind of reaching for another colour prematurely. Let's stick with this terracotta. Let's get some shadow in here, and towards the outer lower kind of sides of that lip as well. That just gives that, see how that's just kind of sculpting a little bit of shape in there. Let's bring in some of that. Obviously we've got a little shadow there beneath the lip as well, and let's bring in some of that terracotta below the chin, and bring it by pushing the shadow beneath the chin in darker. It's pushing the chin itself forwards. It's kind of lifting that out and pushing the neck back in. The middle of the neck there, I won't have too dark as yet. We might leave that just blended quite gently for now. I think while I'm here with the terracotta, let's get some pupils into these eyes as well. And as I've said before, if you've watched these videos, I'm right-handed, so I'm starting on the left, in hopes that then when I come over here, I can see that eyelid is a little higher than the other. Let's bring that down. When I come over here, I can kind of look across there and get something close to the same size as I've got going on over here. And what happens is if I do the right side first and then I come over here, I can't see it, my hand's blocking my view. So it just makes it a little bit harder. So obviously reverse that if you are left-handed. This really helps to kind of keep that in mind. Especially obviously because I can't move my pad or whatever, I can, but it would make it very difficult to show you what I'm doing, which is kind of the point of being here. Just deepening the sides of the eye. Again, I've actually done the right hand side first, which I don't really want to, so if I drop my hand down, I can just see to match that in. Okay, let's come in now. I'm staying with the warmer tones, and I'm going to come in now with, this is just a kind of like a, I suppose it's a deep ivory, lovely sort of yellow tone. It's going to blend beautifully with the green and terracotta that I've got happening here. I'm going to put a little bit of it in the lower part of those eyes as well, because we really want the lower parts of the irises to be nice and light, catching the light there. It really helps to sort of put expression into them. So, oh, a fly coming. You can tell it's spring because I've had all the doors and windows open, but of course all the flies are delighted that the sun's finally come out as well. They're coming for a visit as well. Just a little bit of a highlight there on the eyelids really helps to make a difference, and we're going to add some of this lighter colour on the upper edge of the lip there. Just blend that, so a little bit of a kind of a cushion in the centre of the lip there, and then as it goes down into the mouth, it's we keep that darker tone in, and then the upper part of that lower lip, again the light would hit on the top of that, not the bottom. So it just gives that some shaping. I'm not loving the green tinges there, so I have to do a little bit to fix that in a minute. Let's bring in some yellow here. We just need a slightly darker tone in that shadow. Really like this this warm colour on the skin tones. That's really kind of put some life into that, and it's kind of made the green greener, but it's also warmed the other tones. So that was kind of a random choice, as I showed you with the palette. It's a fairly limited palette that I've got there. I do have some charcoal and some white chalk just at hand as well, so if there's anywhere that I want to make darker, then I can, but just with some charcoal, or if I need to accent anywhere and make it lighter, I've got some white as well. Not going to do a lot with hair, I think I already said that. I'm going to keep that really kind of simple and a suggestion of it rather than anything kind of firmly styled. You just get some marks on there, just letting that kind of disappear off. Maybe give us some strands down here as well, and I'll play around with that as and when, but I'm going to keep that quite sort of linear and a little bit scrappy. That's not the main focus. The main focus is just sculpting this face into something that that works. Going back into my little palette of colours now. This is a lime green. I'm going to bring some of that into the eyes, again into this lower part, but without losing all of that lovely creamy yellow that we got in there. Just giving those eyes the impression of catching some lights, and this light blue is also going to be kind of it's not working, let's try that again, kind of a highlight shade in the eyes. You see how that breathes life into that before there's even pupils or anything happening. Let's just change things a little bit. I'm going to use that blue as a highlight on that lower lip as well. Blend it a little bit, but just letting the lines kind of show through a bit more as well. Bit of a highlight on the nose there. Having brought blue in, it needs to be kind of used in a few other places as well. Blue, a light blue like this is a really lovely alternative to white. as an accent. I will still bring in a little bit of white. If white chalk doesn't work, then a few little marks with an acrylic paint or a gel pen will also do the trick. But what I want to do is just have a hint of blue in the areas that would be white. Let's have some just in the corner of the mouth there, which really helps to shape that and give some expression to the mouth, where the corners of the mouth kind of dip into the cheek, and then the light catches that. Have a little bit of blue just in those eyes, because eyes are not, the whites of the eyes are not really white ever. So I want to give that a shape so that it is, remember it is a ball, it's an eyeball. So you want to really make that rounded. Just checking my fingers not too mucky before I blend that. Let's have a little bit of that blue just up in the centre of the forehead there, where the light would catch. I'm quite deliberately leaving that quite light, because the light, if it was coming down, it would just touch the centre of the forehead there. So we're going to keep that in mind. And again, these blues are now a bit more linear, a little bit more streaky. I don't want to blend it completely, because they're adding highlights, adding dimensions, broken lines, not solid lines. Let's have a little just to the middle of the neck there to bring in that blue. And while I'm here, just that suggestion of hair happening as well. Drop those down. So this is a darker blue. It's a kind of a denim blue. Looks a bit sticky. Oh no, it's okay, it's fine. Okay, so we'll go in. This is just the upper part of the iris, where it's going up under the lid. It's going to be darker. It's quite a deep blue, so I don't want a lot of this all over the rest of the portrait, because I like these really soft colours. But I do need to bring a little bit, having brought in this blue now, I need to bring in just a little bit over the rest of the piece to just keep it kind of unified and working. So we'll add just a touch on that lower lash line. Again, I went to the right instead of the left, so I can't actually see what I'm doing over here. That's okay, that's working. And oh, that fly's annoying. Gotten used to not having flies in, having the doors shut. I hope he's not buzzing around, annoying you on camera as well. Let's have a little bit of blue shade just in that lip line. Again, it's a broken line just into the corners, suggestion there, below the lip. And let's have just a touch of this blue in the shadow under the chin there. It's kind of our darkest areas. Bringing in that blue just kind of unifies it. A few lines of the hat just for fun. Bring some of that blue onto the lash line as well. So I don't want tons of it, but I also don't want to have to add in loads of black with my charcoal. Super, super strong bright blue now. It's almost purple. I'm going to bring in just a touch of that on these eyes. That's the only place that it's going to go. Having said I need to use it elsewhere to unify, it's the only place that's going to go, because that's what's going to give the eyes that little bit of extra pop that we love. So at this point now, I'm really looking at, I'm going to come in with a darker brown first of all. You'll notice there's no eyebrows yet. That's deliberate. They can go horribly wrong, so I'm actually going to put those in with my yellow, because I know I can kind of blend that out. So arch them up and then out towards the side of the face, starting on the left so I can see what's happening when I come over to the right. Wonky eyebrows are worse than wonky eyes when they go wrong, so It really helps to just kind of sketch them in really softly. And then I can come in with my brown and follow that. I've got a little bit more freedom there. I can soften that with my fingers. And I've got a second chance to get them sort of matching up really well. I'm keeping them really super soft on this. Bringing in some of that brown now into the corner of the eye socket, because we want that to be nice and deep. The outer edge there and along the blush line. Leaning towards using the brown for most of the shading rather than black. You don't want too much black in this because the colours are so beautifully soft and gentle. Suggesting, I'm not going to go all the way around the iris, just suggesting the shape of the eye there. A little bit of brown in that white there, but we'll worry about that in a minute. And then bringing in, obviously the nostrils are quite dark there, so we're going to let those have some of that brown too, just a little touch of it. Into the lip line there, again gently, corners there. And just a little suggestion of the way that the corners of the mouth kind of dip into the cheeks. I'll leave that just as it is. We need a touch more of this brown on that one lash line. She's got a nice gentle expression happening there. She's sculpting her way quite nicely. Do we go white or black? Let's go in now with the charcoal. We're almost there, which is great. It's feeling quite, I don't know if you can hear, like I feel like I'm perhaps speaking a little bit more slowly now. I can certainly feel more relaxed and sort of just comfortable with letting things happen and enjoying the whole process. A little bit of dark. This is willow charcoal. It has been used on some of my mixed media, so it's a little bit scratchy. It's probably got a bit of paint on the end there. It's darkening those eyebrows with a touch of charcoal. I quite like that this bit is a touch scratchy. It's not too black. It is black, but it's not like really clunky, heavy black that you sometimes get with a really fresh piece of charcoal, because I don't want these to be solid lines. They need to be just gentle. Little tiny touches that can make such a difference. Just using that to even out, I can see that one of the irises is perhaps a little bigger than the other, but it's not enough to worry about. And with something that is quite heavy like a charcoal, it would be really easy to do too much. So let's just keep it as it is. And use the side of that charcoal to just really just blend the hair rather than define it. Just darkens it in. A little bit more around the face there. Let's bring a little bit into the side of her face there too. But it's vague, it's loose. And as I say, a really great way to kind of round off the day with a little bit of play. Final touches, I think, some white chalk, just to whiten those whites. You can get rid of my extra charcoal there now with a little touch of white. Of that. Same with this one. So it's not a pure white, which works really well. make it too white, then it doesn't work. It becomes unrealistic. Oh, the chalk was dirty. Let's just clean that off a little bit. Have a little bit of white just on the tip of the nose there. And I talked about white where I had this blue as well. We're going to use a little bit of that, but the blue is showing up there too, which works beautifully. So it's not too stark. Same with the highlights on the upper lip, the bulb of the chin, a little bit of white, maybe just a touch here on the brow bone as well. If you're using chalk with pastels, the cheap stuff is the best. The expensive chalks, my eye's not quite right, the expensive chalks have binders and things in which can make them a bit waxy, the kind of the low dust ones. So you want the really cheap stuff. It's more dusty, but it's much softer and it's a lot easier to blend. I'm not going to worry about eyelashes. The black charcoal is enough of a suggestion of a lash line to have a little bit of a highlight there. My apologies, by the way, if anybody's watching and asking questions. I will come back to them later, but I can't, because of the angle of my phone, I actually can't see. So I'm not ignoring you. I just can't see what's going on in the group there. So I will come back to you. Just soften that very stark white of the page. You notice I swapped hands because I know my fingers are absolutely minging at this point, so that's going to ruin it if I try and blend it with my fingers. Just using that chalk to soften some of that. What I'd like to do is add a touch of highlight in those eyes. I don't know if my white chalk is quite white enough to do it, so let's try, and if not, then it might just need a little touch of paint. Let's see how that works. I actually think that might be enough. If I bring in paint at this stage, then I lose that sort of the softness, the brokenness of the chalk and pastel lines. So I think we'll leave that there. We could probably have a little bit more white on that lip. Maybe on the nose there. But I think, from where I'm sitting anyway, I think probably that's where I could leave her. Just being a bit fussy, so the whole page is full. Just add a little bit of chalk down there. The only other thing I need to do is to seal this so that it doesn't smudge all over my sketchbook. Just find the spray, which I didn't have at hand. It's not there. Oh, there we go. So this is to seal this so that it doesn't deteriorate too much in my journal. It's not particularly precious, but on the other hand, I would like it to sort of last so that I can flick through my sketchbook and it doesn't move around quite too much. I'm just going to blow the dust off there. And I'm going to use, this is the cheapest possible hairspray you can find. If you're using really expensive chalk pastels and you've created an absolute masterpiece, use a proper sealer. But if you are just working in your journal like this and you're creating a sketch which is just a loose sketch, then hairspray will seal this just as well. And all it is a little spray one way and then a little spray the other way. You'll see how that's darkened, but as that dries, that will come back up to those lovely light colours, and that's enough to keep that in place in your journal. If you rub it really hard, then obviously it will still move, but it's sealed enough so that as you're flicking through your journal, you'll be able to look at that page and it won't sorry, kicking the table, it won't, you know, it won't have broken up or smudged. If you do want to as well, you can add just a piece of tracing paper in between the pages, just to, you know, just to protect it a little bit more. But I find that something like this, once that's dried, I can close my journal back up, and it will last for absolutely years. It doesn't seem to deteriorate at all. So literally, like, go to the bottom shelf in the supermarket where they've got the really nasty cheap hairspray. The reason that you want the nasty cheap stuff is because it doesn't have conditioners in it. It doesn't have any kind of you know, stuff that makes your hair shiny in it or anything like that. It really is just a very basic hairspray, and that's what you want just for sealing your work. So any charcoal sketches, any sort of random pastel paintings that you do in your journal, you can absolutely seal those just with a really cheap hairspray. You don't need expensive fixatives. The expensive fixatives, if you're using really fancy pastels and you're creating a masterpiece, then you want to preserve the colour. So that's why you want the fixatives, because they guarantee longevity, but they also guarantee not to affect the colour. But you can see the colours are kind of lifting back up out of this as it's drying. So I'm going to stop for now. I will leave this for replays, and I will also get it up onto my YouTube, because there's a limit to how long Facebook will let you leave videos up now, but on my YouTube this will stay forever. I hope you feel inspired. I hope that if you do some sketching, you get inspired to maybe get your soft pastels or chalks out, or charcoal, that this is helpful to you and that you've enjoyed it. And please do stick around for more. These will be available for as long as you like. She's just moving it around so you can sort of see a little bit better. I'm not sure what your angle is there. So thank you so much if you've joined me live. Leave me a comment if you're watching on the replay, or catch up on YouTube. You can always leave me a comment over there as well. I'll drop the links for that later on. Thank you so much, and I hope you're feeling relaxed having watched this and enjoyed it. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.